Hello, my amazing students. This is Mrs. A, and I love math. And you can see in the background, I have my cat. These are actually my daughter's cats because she is their mommy. And this is Booth back there. And Booth maybe doesn't love math as much as I do, but he loves math. This is Mrs. A, and I love math. And today we are going to do Lesson 86, Evaluation with Signed Numbers. So here we have an expression that has lots of signed numbers in it. And whenever we're trying to evaluate an expression, we're going to use the order of operations. And the order of operations always puts multiplication going before addition and subtraction. In fact, multiplication and division go before addition and subtraction. So let's go back up here and let's think about what this would equal. First of all, we're going to deal with all the multiplication as we go from left to right. And then we're going to come back and do any addition or subtraction from left to right. So when we're looking at this, we've got a 2 times a negative 4, which would be a negative 8. Remember, when we multiply opposite signs, we get a negative. And then here is just a minus 3. So we'll write him down. We haven't really done anything with him yet. Let me get this up a little bit higher. And then over here, we've got a minus, and then we're multiplying a negative 6 and a negative 3 would be a positive 18. Negative times negative is positive. So we're going to have a minus 18, and then we're going to put all that together to get the answer. So negative 8 plus a negative 3 is negative 11, plus a negative 18 is a negative 29. And we have evaluated the expression. An evaluation just means find the value of. And that's what we did. Find the value of. And we got negative 29. So now let's come over here and do another one. So here we have another example, an expression, and we have a multiplication. Oops, that is the same one that we just did, wasn't it? That's the exact one. We get to skip that one. We'll do this one. Okay, so here we have negative x minus x times y. And here we're doing a substitution. So x is a negative 2 and y is a negative 4. So the way I recommend that you do these is use cocoons. All right, so cocoons are just parentheses. But we're going to take the minus, and instead of the x, we're going to put a parenthesis, and then minus. And instead of the x, we're going to put a parenthesis. And instead of the y, we're going to put a parenthesis. And because they're up right next to each other, that is a multiplication, isn't it? And then we're going to substitute. Every x, we're going to make a negative 2. So that was a negative 2. This one in the front was an x. So it's a negative 2. And then every y will be a negative 4. So we just leave kind of a skeleton of these little parentheses everywhere we take out a number. We place inside the parenthesis the missing number, and we're ready to go. So now, remember we have the opposite of 2. Since we have 2 negatives, that's going to become a positive. We can also think of that as a negative 1 times a negative 2, which will be a positive 2. Okay, and then over here we have a minus. A minus 2 times a minus 4 would be a positive 8. So we have a minus 8. So 2 minus 8 is 2 plus a negative 8. And opposite signs, we're going to actually subtract. And 8 minus 2 is 6, but it's a negative 8 because the 8 has the negative and it's the bigger number. So we're going to get a -6 for that evaluation. Pretty easy, huh? Okay, so we have -a minus xa if x is -3 and a is 2. So again, I've got a negative and then an a. I'm just going to take out the a and put in a parenthesis, and then a minus, and then we're going to take out the x and put in a parenthesis, and take out the a and put in a parenthesis. So we have this skeleton here, and each one of the numbers we took out, we put a little parenthesis cocoon there to hold the value that's coming in. So x was here, and this is the one that's represented by that x, so we'll make that one a -3. And then the a's were on the front and the back. The a is 2, we'll put 2 in the front and the back, and we've done our substitution. So now we're going to multiply. -1 times a 2, or the opposite of 2, is a -2. And then minus, and now a -3 times a 2 is a -6, but then minus a -6 is the same as the opposite of a -6. So that will be a +6. And -2 plus 6 would be a +4. So the answer to that one is a +4. And we're ready to go to our examples, our practices. Okay, so I want you to get a piece of paper and try these on your own. So the first one we'll set up for you. We have AB minus A, so we're going to take out the A, put a cocoon, take out the B, put a cocoon, here's the minus, and then another A, cocoon. So A is -2, and A's on the front cocoon and the back cocoon, -2, -2. B is 3, and it's right in the middle. So now we've substituted. -2 times 3 is -6. And then minus a -2 is the opposite of a -2, which is +2. We get -6 plus 2 is a -4. See how easy they are to work? All right, so we have 2 more practices. Here's the first one. Okay, so pause your video and go do it on your own. Okay, hopefully you did that. Hopefully you paused and you've done the problem, but let's go ahead and work through. So we've got a cocoon for the x minus another cocoon for the x and a cocoon for the y. All right, so now the x and the x come in the first 2 cocoons, -3, -3. And the y is a -2. So we put each one of those in there. And then this one is just a -3. It doesn't have anything multiplied by it, so we're just going to write down -3. And then we've got a minus the product of a -3 and a -2. Negative times negative is positive, so we have a 6, a -6. So -6. Now remember, -6 is the same thing as plus a -6. So we have a -3 plus a -6, and we end up with a -9. So the answer here is a -9. Did you get that one right? I hope so. The last problem. This is a very quick section, isn't it? Okay, so here we have a problem, and this one is one of your practices. So I want you to pause your video and go practice that one. Okay, hopefully you paused your video. So I'm going to write this skeleton: -x y cocoon minus x cocoon. So I took all the variables out and put a cocoon in their place. So this is kind of a skeleton of what's going to go in. So now we're going to say x is a negative 3, and x is the very front, and x is also the very last one. And then the y is a negative 2 right here. Okay, so now we're going to multiply. So negative 6. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3 factors that are negative. Remember, odd is going to be negative. So we get negative 6 minus a negative 3 is the opposite of a negative 3, which is a positive 3. And negative 6 plus 3, opposite sign, subtract. Take the sign of the bigger one. And we have completely finished. That was one of your practices. How did you do? I hope you did well. All right, so we're all done with lesson 86. This is Mrs. A. May God bless your day.